Good afternoon. This year, 2020, has been a really tough year, but in motorcycle terms, the most amazing event has just been launched. It is the QAGOMA. Now, you might be thinking, what the dickens is a QAGOMA? Well, you are going to know at the end of this, because in Queensland, at the Gallery of Modern Art, QAGOMA is the most exquisite exhibition of motorcycles, design, art and desire. And it just opened at the end of November. It's going to finish in April, which is very sad for everybody. This is an international event, and my special guest this afternoon is Michael O'Sullivan, who is the design manager for this exquisite exhibition. Michael, good afternoon.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
Now, putting on an exhibition of over 100 motorcycles is not an easy task. And these motorcycles go from the 1800s right up to the modern day. This is an exquisite exhibition. And I love the fact that the word desire has been added in there. Tell me a little bit about when it all started and how it got going.
Yeah, well, look, we're certainly, or anyone that's followed motorcycles for a few years and perhaps likes museums as well might be aware of the Art of the Motorcycle exhibition that was a landmark exhibition that the Guggenheim Museum in New York hosted in the late 90s, around 1998. And that was a roaring success for them. It went on to tour to the Guggenheim Bilbao and Las Vegas at the time as well. Certainly captured a century of motorcycling at the time, and to huge acclaim. The connection with the Queensland Art Gallery was through one of our executive team who knew Charles Falco, one of the curators of that show. Charles is a really interesting character. He's an optical physicist by trade, but also one of the leading authorities on motorcycles, and claims to have one of the largest personal libraries of motorcycle literature in the world. So Charles had a connection with one of our team, and there was an idea there for some time about the possibility of reigniting the concept of a motorcycle exhibition. But also thinking about the time that we're in now and how that proposition is a little bit different to what it might have been previously with, the rise of electric motorcycles, the whole sort of pivot and change we're going through with technology at the moment. So it seemed like a really great time to revisit the idea and reshape it to a contemporary context.
Well, I am really glad to hear that. So it's been about, what, two years or more in the planning to bring it to fruition?
It has, yeah. We first started talking with Charles and Alton Guilfoyle, the other curator that we've commissioned out of the States, probably about two and a half years ago. And then, it's that kind of slow and steady pace to try and form the idea, and then just watch it rapidly accelerate, from there to try and put a show like this together.
And then, of course, COVID came along and must have really taken a couple of spokes or let the air out of your tyres a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the timing wasn't great. I mean, the timing never is for something like that. At the time we had a really well-formed list, an idea of basically the 100 motorcycles that we were going to assemble for the exhibition. But that list still relied on making a lot of connections and contacts with perhaps Japan, European collections as well. And COVID really hit at a pivotal time in the exhibition. We had some great loans locked in from particularly US collectors, a couple from New Zealand as well, and some other places. Certainly we had one of the first on the list was the 1871 steam velocipede from a museum in Paris. Really that first starting point for the story of motorcycles. And but then, COVID hit us and really forced us to look a little bit more locally, really, to come up with some answers to the dilemma of moving motorcycles around the world and connecting with people in a lockdown situation. So so suddenly we've focused our attention a little more sharply on some of the really great Australian collections as well. And I have to say, really to the benefit of the exhibition, because what we've ended up with is this really great kind of international, but specifically Australian and local story as well.
Yes, you've got to love the Charles and Alton, both Americans, and I know they would. The Americans have a very special slant on the world, very US centric, I might say. But this exhibition is open now, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But you'll need to go there, or if you can't get there. When it comes to design, art and desire, this is the catalogue. It is something that will keep a door open in a high wind and keep it open. But the artwork inside here, the quality of the photography is just second to none. And I think that as the piece de resistance, no other motorcycle brings together art, design and desire together than the John Britton race bike. That is just sensational. It's at the exhibition.
It is one of I think only 10 in existence. Now this bike really, Charles and Alton, our American curators, represents the pinnacle of motorcycling excellence. They absolutely love the Briton. And look, it's an incredible story. It's in a way, it's got this sort of this DNA of New Zealand inventiveness that dates all the way back to Burt Munro buying his 1920 Indian Scout and inventing and evolving this motorcycle over time. If we race forward to the 90s, John Britton in New Zealand, deciding to create his own superbike from scratch. Completely reinventing the whole kind of geometry and technology solution to this bike, but an incredibly visually spectacular result, as well as a premium performer. So it's a gorgeous thing, and we're really lucky to have one in the show.
The exhibition would be a success if it only had that one bike, but there are so many dozens of bikes more in this exhibition. Like I say, this is 1.5 inches thick, this book, and we're talking about, as you've mentioned, Michael, motorcycles that date back to the 1880s. You've got a couple of Australian-made motorcycles, the Whiting, and the other one is Australian. I think it was made in Queensland.
Yeah, so we've discovered in putting the exhibition together that one of the very earliest completely sort of designed and manufactured motorcycles in Australia came from just up the river from us in Auchenflower, and it was David Spencer, a local man in Brisbane, inventing motorcycles or manufacturing from about 1903 onwards, and we understand that he made 10 of the Spencer motorcycle. We've got I think the only completely intact example of that motorcycle that we've borrowed from the Motor Life Museum in Wollongong, a fantastic automotive museum down south that has preserved this bike, and were very kind to lend it to us for the exhibition. A fantastic local connection. As it happens, we've discovered that the Queensland Museum has a second Spencer in parts, and our local club the Historical Motorcycle Club is cottoned onto this and are really making great efforts now to try and put a second example together. So some good local history and a local story there as well.
Yes, some great things. And now the Australian content to this is because I imagine COVID shut down international air flights and being able to bring bikes from overseas. But the local content, we've now got speedway machines from the 1930s and 40s, a magnificent unrestored machine, and some wonderful machines out of Australian collections.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple of really noteworthy collections represented in the exhibition. Two fantastic collectors out of Victoria, Peter Arundale and David Reedy, who David collects Harleys in particular, and has one of the world's, best collections of early Harley Davidson, some incredibly rare and unique examples, including some original race machines that were, sold and raced in the sort of the 20s and 30s in Australia. So again, this great kind of local thread. Peter's collection of Indian motorcycles is incredible, and we have 4 of his bikes in the show. An 8-valve board track racer, a fantastic Scout with a sidecar, this incredible original 20s hill climber as well. So and that speaks to the fact that both Harley and Indian were hugely successful and popular marques of motorcycle in Australia in the first half of the 20th century, if not beyond.
Yeah, this is a significant exhibition, and there's some beautiful examples of early European. You've got French Peugeot, I think, in there, and some of the glorious Art Deco style Brough Superior from the 1930s. The exhibition's got and some of that Renaissance Italian design, the Air Macchi with the Aero Chimera, is it? With that beautiful jet styling, and some magnificent examples of unique machines that were never made in large volumes and are very, very hard to see all in one place.
Exactly, yeah. No, and so there's a whole thread through the exhibition, particularly sort of, in the first room that has about 60 motorcycles. Down one side, we have this fascinating design story where you see the motorcycle evolve as this beautiful aesthetic object. We've got this majestic, this Art Deco motorcycle that emerged in Paris in 1929. The pressed metal body, the motors concealed in this very stylish form. And the way that we've positioned motorcycles in that space, you can see that how some of those earlier designs have really evolved and been refined over time as well. So particularly post-war Italian, smaller scale motorcycles, these beautiful small bikes that were made for mass transportation. Of course, the iconic Vespa, the scooter that moved an entire nation post-war and spread throughout the world. And then we pair that with a Honda Super Cub, the most prolific motorcycle of all time, over 100 million Super Cubs sold since it was started manufacturing 58 right through to the present day. So, you couldn't have a motorcycle exhibition without acknowledging the most prolific motorcycle of all time, and one of the most humble as well, perhaps.
Yes, for sure. Yes, tiny little machine, but of course, everyone. I mean, you imagine Asia, and everyone in Asia, I think, has one of those tiny little motorbikes that, if not are a Honda, are a replica of the Honda, and they just move everyone to and from the market. It's for work, it's for play, it's for everything.
And perhaps the hardest working motorcycle of all time, when you see whole families and whole, farmers moving produce and whatever it is, the Super Cub seems to just take it all in its stride. So, a really great little story of a motorcycle that made, really revolutionized the way people live and the kind of range that people suddenly had around their town or their city and in the place that they lived.
Now, Michael, you were saying that in this exhibition, it's not just the motorcycle that's on display, but you've also got an augmented experience with a lot of material that people can look at on the website and experience and hear a little bit more of the story that surrounds it, to tell the story of the motorcycle. For instance, you've got the Jack Errett Vincent, which has come back to Australia. And what an amazing machine that is, as an unrestored racing Vincent from what's that, 70 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. So, 1951, Vincent Black Lightning, extremely rare in its day, even rarer now to find, an example like this one that's, cosmetically preserved in its original state. So every scrape and dent from its racing career is there and evident, but it's been completely mechanically restored, and it's a well-loved and still remains a well-ridden motorcycle as well. The owner I think was out on a back road in Tasmania a week before the bike came to the exhibition, enjoying it as it should be. So, and we've got some great film footage of this particular motorcycle that set a land speed record in Australia outside Gunnedah in 1953. And the bike, in the last couple of years, was taken back to that Gunnedah road and ridden and filmed on that road. And we've got some fantastic footage of the bike recreating its speed run outside of Gunnedah as well. So it's, yeah, you know, it's got this great Australian pedigree to it. You know, Phil Irving, the engineer that really was instrumental in developing the Vincent engine, came from Australia, went to the UK and developed, you know, one of the most amazing motorcycle engines of all time. This particular bike has this great Australian heritage, and then this very, you know, enthusiastic collector a couple of years ago paid a world auction record-setting price to bring that bike back to Australia. So yeah, we're very grateful to have the bike in the exhibition and enjoy all of those kind of threads and histories that it represents.
That's right, yes. I'm very fortunate that Phil Irving used to live just down the road at Warrandyte, not too far from where I live, and the Jack Errett Vincent used to live just a few blocks down the road from me. So it truly is. It's going to be great to go and see it again. So that's great. So the stories of this exhibition just go on and on. We're going to bring a few more stories of the exhibition to you. Michael, I really appreciate you making yourself available to be able to talk about and entice, and I can only endorse you to go, don't just talk about this exhibition, go and see this exhibition. And go to Queensland. We can travel now. Go to Queensland. If you can't go, get the catalogue, because this is quality exhibits. I'm pleased to see that some of the bikes in my collection are actually in the collection up there as well. And here we are, Bruff Superior. Can we see that without the light? The photographs are just magnificent in the catalogue. It is a collector's item, the catalogue in itself. So that is really good. Just go and see it. It opened in late November, only a couple of weeks old. It's going to be open all the way through Christmas, New Year.
All the way through till late April. So plenty of time, but don't leave it too late. Come.
Don't leave it too late. This is an exhibition of international significance. It is the greatest motorcycle event of 2020, and it is going to be the most internationally significant motorcycle event of 2021. To get an exhibition with this range of motorcycles in it is just par excellence. It is without compare. So congratulations to Charles and Ulton for putting it together. For you, Michael, you're the design. You set the design up for the whole thing. So that is just fantastic. And you're a motorcycle man yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think for me this is a bit of a worlds collide moment, because I've loved motorcycles for a long time and owned a few here and there, and to be able to bring that interest and the role that I have at the gallery as the design manager together and create this exhibition has been a real completely thrilling experience for me.
Well, thank you, Michael. And so we're going to bring you more on this. So keep watching Twist Grip Tales, and we'll bring more to you about this magnificent exhibition up there in Queensland, which is closer than you think. You just got to plan to go there. Thank you very much, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Bruce. Cheers.